Hey YouTube, welcome back to our channel. My name is Elena.
And I'm Bjorn.
And this is Vikings React, where we take a look at some of your favorite Viking shows and discuss their historical accuracies.
We have a lot of stuff planned, so we're just gonna try to keep making our way through Vikings. We're almost caught up. We're on episode 7. Let's get going. Yeah.
Why are you doing this to me?
It already happened.
I didn't need the reminder, okay? Oh, right, the steel door.
How does he get in there every day?
Through that trap door. Remember? The little Witzig door.
The little doggy door.
I must throw you into prison
He's wearing a costume.
until you see the error of your ways. Or
Sorry, just a quick note on the clothing again. It's very frilly, and we won't get into that. But the coat that he's wearing it's based on a kaftan. That's what it's called. It's like a wraparound tunic, basically. Like the massive shoulder length embroidery and stuff like that. I don't know what that is, but the actual style of that kind of coat was a thing. It was from, they found it in Sweden, before the Viking Age, during the Vendel period, migration era, and then they found remnants of what they believed was another Viking Age one in Denmark at the time frame. But they also thought it was more of a Eastern Slavic kind of influenced,
Right.
over jacket, basically.
A couple of other points here is he is carrying an axe with him. It's a larger type axe. It's not a Dane axe, but it's not specifically a throwing axe or anything.
Yeah, it's not a throwing axe at all. I mean, it'd be closer to a Dane axe. It looks a little bit short, kind of reminiscent to what Rollo would always walk around with.
Yeah.
Because that wasn't full chest height or anything like that.
Yeah. It's closer to a Dane axe, but a Dane axe would actually be even larger than that. You'd be able to swing that thing around. Yeah.
Dane axes were so a lot of modern reactors will have Dane axes that are the length of spears, and that is actually a bit of a misconception. Most Dane axes were only about as tall as they needed to be, so that you could kind of rest your chin on it, almost like a walking staff kind of thing. So it should only go about right beneath the chin. This one's a little bit shorter. It's almost like the Lengiod axe that you see. It's almost a Dane axe, but it's not quite that full size, but it's big enough to basically kind of count as one.
Yeah, it comes out to maybe
it's
tall.
3-4 feet-ish maybe here and there. But it's kind of reminiscent of that. The head of it is way bigger on the one that Harold has. That's more like a later, I want to say a Peterson M type axe head, I think, if memory serves. But that's specifically a war axe. I want to talk about the shields.
Sure.
There are two main runic staves that are very intricate that you kind of see alongside the Viking Age, or Viking reenactment or Viking TV shows or whatever, anything Viking, you'll always see these two reoccur. It's the Ægishjálmur, the Helm of Aa, and the Vegvisir. These are two runes that are used all the time. In the Icelandic rune book, it says that whoever bore the Helm of Aa could have no harm done to them in battle. They were invincible, basically. And the Vegvisir was one that was used, basically it's also seen as a Viking compass, because the rune there itself is supposed to be used for people who are out traveling. If they're out wandering stuff, they'll never lose their way. So because of that, it has that Viking compass kind of association to it or whatever. It's not a Viking thing per se. We know about the runes from the Icelandic rune book, which was only written down in the 18th century. There's one instance of the Ægishjálmur, the Helm of Aa, that dates back further to the story of Sigurd the Dragon Slayer, because supposedly he donned a Helm of Aa. But in Sigurd's story, it kind of appears more as a physical helmet that he put on himself. So some people have also taken to the notion of that they'd put it, paint it on their face, or have like a medallion, they like push it into their head or something like that to like leave the impression there on their skin or something. But you always see those used. See a lot of people who will like paint it on their shields like this. Usually it's with the Helm of Ah. This one is actually parts of the motif of the Big Visser, which is interesting.
It's like half of it.
Yeah, so each of them have 8 like branches basically, and they like form like a bigger circle, and they kind of cross all intersectedly. So they can't do the full one because of the decorations that they additionally put onto the shield with those added like little cross sections there, for no reason whatsoever. But that's beside the point. So they only use like half of the staves. They just kind of put those in between. But yeah, that's where it comes from.
You told Lagertha that she would be killed by a son of Ragnar.
I say only what I see, and I know that humankind cannot bear too much reality.
Another recurring theme that I'm seeing with the show, and remembering now that I'm watching the season from the past seasons even, there's a lot of this like, spirits coming back, a lot of magic, a lot of stuff that happens to these characters that is outside of, the realistic realm, essentially. They see ghosts, some of them see gods walking around, spirits talking to them and stuff like that. We've seen it in this season with Fitzurk, and now again with the seer coming back, essentially from...
For Uba.
Huh?
For Uba.
Yeah, for Uba, and also for Lagertha as well, because she saw him too.
Right, true.
And I just kind of wanted to like mention that back in those days, there was a very deep spiritual connection that they would have had with the spirits of the land and the gods and the elves. Essentially, it's one of those things. To this day, if you go to Iceland, one of the things that they don't want you to do is they don't want you to take certain rocks and move them or take them in general, because they see rocks as being much more permanent than anything else on that land. And also, you don't want to anger the elves. You don't want to anger the spirits of the land.
Yeah, exactly. Absolutely.
And that comes from those days, essentially.
Yeah, and they've just kind of like kept very true to that like culture, I suppose. But it was someplace in Iceland where they were like doing construction. They had to build a road, and there was like this like mound, this like big hill that it was going through, and they were just like, okay, well, like, it's a road, we'll just kind of go through it. And every time they tried, like, something would fail. Like, the machine would fail, their tools would break, something like that. And they literally, like, the officials in charge of it wrote it off as, like, elves will go around it. And, like, they just they put the road around this hill. And that was it. And then everything was fine. But they're like, yeah, clearly, like, the spirits of the land, the elves don't want us to, like, disrupt this. This is important to them. So we're not going to. We're just going to go around it. And they did. And that's, like, such a cool thing that, like, you never see here.
Yeah.
That, like, nobody would give about.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's something that we kind of lose in our normal day-to-day lives, is that connection with nature generally.
Yeah.
But they did have that deeper connection with nature, and there were a lot of rituals and a lot of things, a lot of stories happening around the spirits of the land and the elves and other creatures that inhabited it along with them, and they always showed respect for all of that.
Absolutely. Yeah, it was an important part of their like culture and their society. It was the reason why they took the dragon heads off the ships when they were traveling in their own homelands. They didn't want to scare off or frighten away the land spirits there, because that would bring them about bad luck and things like that. So they were always like very conscientious of that other realm that existed amongst them at the same time, kind of like a symbiotic relationship.
Yeah, sort of like a coexistence.
Yeah,
so throughout the show, they kind of show that through the different characters kind of coming back from the dead as spirits, and them kind of communicating with that spirit realm in one way or another. But that is based on sort of Viking Age beliefs. Just kind of brought to the forefront in a visual sense.
Absolutely.
The gods decided to take you to themselves before I was ready. But at least you'll soon be with Lagertha again. in the halls of the Aesir.
She did it right.
She did it right. That's great.
There's nothing to do except look forward to the spring.
You haven't been to 2020.
But life goes on.
I've heard that your God performs miracles. Jesus Christ raised a man from the dead. He made a lame man walk. He fed 1,000 people with just a few loaves and fishes. I don't think it's too much to ask of him to cure a simple cripple, is it?
I mean, he's not wrong.
And he's not wrong, no. But if they cure his disability, I'm going to lose my mind.
That would be ridiculous.
Yep. Just want to get that on record.
Your mistress, the famous shield maiden Lagertha, is dead. But we cannot let her sail to Valhalla alone. Someone must serve her in the next world and accompany her there. I do not want to sacrifice a slave who might be unwilling to perform these sacred duties. I believe it must be done willingly and joyfully, and that one of you is fated to be that person.
The funeral practice, based on like the Osberg grave and what we have from Ibn Fadlan's descriptions and stuff like that, absolutely would have been a thing that, along with somebody being entombed or being sent off to the next world of such high status, there would have been some kind of servant to go along with them.
I wonder if they're going to give her a ship burial.
I mean, that's what it looked like, so I assume. Maybe they'll probably just kind of set it on fire and send it out because it's winter.
We'll see.
Well, it's like docked, that's what I assumed. Anyways, no, I just wanted to quickly talk on the whole thing of like, looking for like a willing participant and stuff like she was saying. So like, in the written account that we have from Ibn Fadlan, we talked about this a bit before, I think. During the funeral ceremony of the Viking chieftain that Ibn Fadlan witnessed, there was a handmaiden that was selected, a thrall of his, that belonged to the chieftain who, according to the story, fully willingly agreed to be sent off with him. She summarily got incredibly drunk and had a lot of ritual sex with the rest of the king's men, the Jarl's men, and then she was then sacrificed, basically. But yeah, it was supposed to be this like willing sacrifice, and they like threw tons of like lavish gifts and everything like that, and made sure that she was like well inebriated and well like treated during that like ceremony and stuff that lasted a couple days. But yeah, totally a thing that would happen and has happened and did happen that we know like definitively. His skates look like mini skis.
They actually do.
Yeah, they're literally wooden mini skis.
Yeah.
Which is a little frustrating. So, Vikings did have ice skates. They did not look like mini skis. They were made out of bone from like cow or horse. But just like the blocks of like their femur, basically, they were carved and kind of perfected a little bit more, and just kind of tied onto the shoe. So it's absolutely like a little pastime that the Vikings had, which is really cool. And there's some like stories in the sagas of like men fighting on the ice and things like that, which is really cool too. But they didn't look like little skis.
Behold, I see my mistress seated in paradise. Paradise is beautiful and green, and with her are shield maidens. She calls me. Take me to her.
It's not bad.
Be loved.
I am called the angel of them.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, a couple of points to talk about. You already covered a couple of those things that we just saw.
Yeah, I guess it's just good to see it confirmed and like reaffirmed there.
Yeah. Gita being lifted up and her saying that poem was actually something that was written down. That's one of 3 parts, I believe.
Yeah, so
there were 2 other parts that they didn't quite cover, but
yeah, so she kind of like the thing that she did was a little bit of like a bastardization of the original, to kind of just fit Lagertha specifically. You know, just seeing, you know, her and her shield maiden beckoning her there. So yeah, like the original is like, lo there do I see my father, lo there do I then she is hoisted up again, lo do I see my mother and my sisters and my brother, the line of my people back to the beginning. They bid me take my place among them, take me to them, basically. And it's intense. So they kind of did their own like version of it, just kind of fit Lagertha's, you know, funeral specifically. And I thought that was really well done. I thought that was great.
yeah,
a nice little touch.
That was really good.
Yeah.
The horse heads.
The horse heads, yep,
were super accurate.
Yep, horses were hugely used in ritual sacrifice and things like that. Actually, the eating of horse meat was banned by the Christian rulers after the Vikings had converted because it was so heavily associated with their pagan beliefs. So you see it a lot of the times either in blots and in ceremonies and in sacrifices when they have feasting. Horse meat is one of the main things that they ate and sacrificed animals to the gods for. And you see in a lot of grave finds as well, there are remnants of horses that were slaughtered, and they were run to exhaustion and then slaughtered as part of the sacrifice. So that was also well done.
The Angel of Death was also part of the ceremony that Ibn Fadland wrote about.
Yep, yeah. The Angel of Death was the one who ran the ceremony and was responsible for all the ritualistic practices that took place. She was responsible for making sure that everything was fulfilled and everybody kind of followed the procedure, basically. And she was also the one who ritually killed the sacrificee, if you will. So in the story, in Ibn Fadland's description, she killed a rooster beforehand. So she cut off its head and she threw like one part over the side of the ship and then one part into the ship, so that it could be like there's who knows why, literally, but there's a lot of description of that. And then afterwards, after the person being sacrificed as part of the ritual, as part of the ceremony, she was actually brought out in front of everybody at the bow of the ship and was raised up, and she recited those lines basically, and then she was brought into the ship itself and she was killed there. But yeah, she would have just been like stabbed or her throat cut or something.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think they did a pretty good job.
Yep, and the ritual sex and everything too.
Yeah, they even included that.
Yeah. Good job, guys. Well done.
Yeah, my only complaint about it would just be the black eyes, because
the black eyes and like the weird makeup and stuff.
Yeah.
There's no need for that. I thought it was a cool touch, at least. It looked metal.
It looked awesome.
Yeah, I kind of liked how she was like almost weeping and like smiling with it. It was like
it
was like serene.
It did look
it was
cool.
it was like surreal. Yeah.
I was never the world without you. And wherever I go, you will go with me. And give me courage. And hope.
Dude on the left just yawning. Did you see that?
I didn't actually.
There was a dude on the far left.
Was it the painted face guy or was it?
No, just a regular.
Oh yeah.
Just one big yawn.
Arriving fashionably late to the funeral.
When was I dead?
Is that a ballista? well, this entire episode was her funeral.
Yeah, basically, that was the big thing about this one.
Eesh. Rightfully so. They did well on it.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just thought, like...
They couldn't get him back from...
I was going to say, like, he couldn't stomach it. Like, not one scene, he couldn't do it. I was wondering if they were, like, going to, do, like, some effects to just, like, blend some of his older scenes together into it. You know, like...
No, just pure straight up 3D
just
model.
Straight up, nope, can't do it. We're just going to make a Sandcastle Ragnar, and that's it. And we're going to end it there. That, I feel like, took away a lot of the steam from it. I think it would have just been better to do the voiceover and have the ship just kind of go off.
No, I think they did a good job. There are little, discrepancies that we can pick apart and,
Yeah, there always are.
The bigger part of it, like the bigger part of the story was there, and that was actually like really nice to see.
Yeah.
I did really appreciate
Absolutely.
all of that.
Absolutely. Agreed. Fully. This does a lot of damage control after last week's fiasco.
Yeah. This episode was by far this is
better.
what this show should be.
Yeah, like all the time.
You take this episode and this is what this show should be, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. Best episode yet.
Is stories like these taken out of history, and you can make up your own stories as well, but like keep true to the core of the Viking Age.
Yeah, absolutely.
And this did that.
Absolutely. Yeah. 100%. This was great. This was a really, really well done episode.
I'm also gonna call out the fact that when they started hauling the ship, there was a dude right in front of the ship that was wearing a very historically accurate hood. I'm just gonna point that out.
Oh, a historically accurate hood.
Yes.
It's 3 pieces of cloth.
4, but sure.
3. Mine's 3.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Mine's 4.
1, 2, 3. I have one big piece that goes up and over.
I see. I'm pretty sure, yeah, the first one I made was out of 4 pieces, I'm pretty sure.
Do you have the seam across the top?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Regardless, it's 4 pieces of cloth. It's all squares and rectangles. Oh yeah, what a hard piece to come up with historically.
Regardless, knowing the history of their clothing, it was nice to see something historically accurate be put on a person.
I'm trying to be nitpicky now. I have to be nitpicky after giving them like a raving review. I have to be petty a little bit. Yeah, no, that was well done. What's your rating?
So, I'm actually going to give this one a 7.
I want to give it like, overall, with that sliding scale, I don't know, like I want to say like a 5. And that's a 3-point jump. Mm-hmm. Because their episode got them skyrocketing. So that brings the whole national average up. Mm-hmm. That's the thing. But like, I feel like that's low after this, but like still. You know what I mean? It's hard. And I want to say like, okay, we'll just pull it up to a 6. But then at that point, it's like, well, it's basically a 7. So I want to say 7. But then you look at the whole, like that's a 5-point increase. That's huge. I'm just going to say 6.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm just looking at the episode, kind of a little bit more as a standalone. Just...
Yeah, standalone, this was the best episode we've seen so far.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, this was...
Without question.
This was hands down the best one in the season so far, and I'm really, really happy that they were able to do this.
Yeah, I'm like really glad that they actually decided to like stick really true to like some historical depictions of, the funeral practices and the rites and everything that was, actually done. That was really great to see, and it deserving of a character such as Agatha, honestly.
Yeah, for sure. Also, one of the things that we didn't point out is the bed.
I was staring at it. That was really nice. So each 4 bedposts had like the carving in it. Mm-hmm. I think it was only like the first 2, like by the headboard, that would have the carvings on the ones that we found, and then we didn't see what the bedding itself. Historically, it was put together just with planks that were like slotted, just across the bottom, and then whatever they used for bedding would have been put on top and like inside and stuff like that. It looked really good. The only thing that like was really lacking for the whole ceremony, and I'm sure it was more of like a like cinematography, like visual thing, was just that they would have been put inside like a structure.
Right.
on the ship.
Yeah.
You know,
Like a little hut.
yeah, they
episodes.
were put like into a shelter basically that was then closed off and sealed and everything. So I'm sure they didn't do that just because visual effects and things like that,
Yeah,
which is
I
fine
was-
again.
Yeah, I was also looking at that, you know, thinking that the ship would have had that structure on top of it, but they don't want to close that off. Guys, if this is what the series was, this episode specifically, we would be so happy.
And clearly they're able to do it because they just did it.
So we know they're capable.
We know they're capable of it. They just choose not to do it.
No, this was awesome.
This is great.
I really enjoyed this.
Yep, nothing bad to say.
Yeah. I'm really sad about Lagatha's death, but...
That happened last week. Come on, get over it.
I know, but it's
I know, it's awful. I mean, she's been there from the beginning. She's been like this central figurehead in the whole show. Like, yeah.
Yeah. But they did her justice.
Absolutely.
And I'm really happy about that.
Absolutely, yeah.
Thank you so much for watching, guys. We hope you enjoyed it. If you did, hit that like button. If you're new to the channel, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell so you can be notified of our future videos. And we'll see you in the next one.
I wanted to see one like misfire and just take out a giant chunk of the ship. Like, oh god, oh I'm so sorry. Oh, I messed it all up. Oh Jesus, oh no.
Now we need a new ship.
Gotta do it all over, guys. Put out the candles. Let's do it. Let's rewind.